Comes in 760 pages. It weighs about 9.5 pounds, and I know that because I've been carrying one of them around for the last 2 days. It took about 7 years to write. It's quite a remarkable book. It's probably the ultimate coffee table book, as long as you've got a strong coffee table. I have now been reading it for a long while. I have to keep going back just to keep up. He is a consultant, as I think we've mentioned, to various people, and he's very much a key factor in helping us to develop client portfolios. I cover these areas. Stephen's done a little bit. The HRD, we've talked about that. GIA, the natural color diamonds must come with a certificate that says where they're from, when they were assessed by one of those agencies. The other thing that's very important, that some of you may have seen them, Stephen occasionally is commissioned to write a Stephen Hofer letter. And a Stephen Hofer letter is roughly 12 pages, Stephen, thereabouts, which is further authentication of that stone. I have a couple of those letters at Blenny. Talked about the confidentiality, and of course at the moment coloured diamonds or stones, a jewellery of any sort, is not a monetary vehicle as defined by the governments of UK or US. I might hit you if when it gets to inheritance tax time, but for the rest they're extremely portable. As I said, we have historic evidence of the quality of the value. I think Stephen's covered all of this. I hadn't seen that presentation before, so there is some duplication here. Yeah? I think they gravitate into more to an art form. I can't remember totally the statistics, but I think of 88 million carats that are of rough diamond that are mined each year. About 40 of, no, it can't be. It must be about 200 or so are natural color diamonds. It's a very, very small percentage of it. I think I look at it the other way. In a normal year, 24 million tons of diamonds are mined, and it ends up at about 5 pounds of colored, natural colored. Very portable. We tend to walk about with them in our pockets, but we shouldn't talk about that. Interestingly enough, I was talking to a member of the Romanov family the other week, and they came out of Russia, as many other people have come out of Iran, with their wealth in their pockets, undetectable. Within of the highest prices per carat at auction over a period, 24 out of 25 have been for colored diamonds, and I just picked out vivid yellow, moving from 40 to 110 carats dollars per carat, US dollars. And I looked back over our records and just leave you to read those there. And we managed to remove I had a pound sign there on one line. I think if you take fancy pinks, where you were at 5 or 6K, moving up to 110 to 160 over that 30-year period. There was a fascinating article, and Justin, I thought your presentation was great, Justin, absolutely wonderful. But there's a lady, I asked Justin, maybe she could get her here. It's a lady called Claire Stewart. Does anybody know who she is? She writes in the Times on Saturdays, and she writes on alternative investments. And she had an article about 6 months ago where she looked at, over the same period, this 30-year period, at the increased value in property in the southeast, and looked at antique furniture, at fine wine, and at various other things. And her graphs, we could have overlaid those exactly, because I would have loved to have been able to use that graph she had and put just one of our colors, no matter what it was. And one gets the same thing. I'm still trying to get Claire interested in writing an article. I don't know if any of you are members of the Zurich Club, but I wrote an article for the Zurich Club about 2 months ago, which was published, I think, in August, which seemed to have sparked some reaction anyway. And we've been asked to do 1 or 2 more. Liquidity. It's perfectly clear that there are auctions. They started again this month, maybe the end of last month. They go through for a while. July, August doesn't see too much, but there are there are major auctions. If anybody reads my newsletter, I try to pick those up and tell you when they're going to take place. The interesting thing is that 80% of those are recycled. Now that shouldn't surprise you really, because if one looks at, and Stephen referred to the Argyle tender, which is on the back there, and this year the number of diamonds in that tender is down to 43. That's only 2 or 3 years ago when it was up in the 60s, and 5 years since it was in the hundreds. And I suspect that the Argyle has only a limited time ahead of it before it's just too uneconomic to mine. And the other thing that's interesting is that I've picked up in the last 6 months, the amount of coloured jewellery now getting into, coloured diamonds getting into jewellery. In fact, we were on New Bond Street yesterday, and you see all of the jewellers today, and a year ago it wasn't there. And if you read the Financial Times How to Spend It magazine, if you ever get around to reading that, now you find some of the bigger jewellers advertising mostly intense yellow of the sort of 2 or 3 carat size. Oh, there you go. Those are some numbers. That came out of numbers about that was last year. So that's the business view. We are able to help clients to build their asset. I look at it, as I said, as wealth protection. It is not something that you buy and sell as day traders. It's something you invest in for the long term. The growth, I think, is there, and we can see that forward, and we're here to help. I should introduce, by the way, there are 2 guys in the audience we haven't yet introduced. Gary Cook, who's co-chairman with me, and John Skinner, who's just come in from Toronto.